Have you ever noticed in life that sometimes it's very easy to label situations and experiences we have as being bad when they don't turn out the way we want them to, or good when they turn out the way that we want them to? But sometimes those experiences that don't go the way we want are the biggest blessings we've ever experienced when we look at it retrospectively. Hi, everyone. Chris Natzke with Black Belt Leadership Speaking and Coaching with your Mind of a Champion tip of the week. Again, it's so easy for me anyway to label experiences as bad when they don't go the way I want them to. The relationship that dissolves, the illness, the financial downfall. But interestingly enough, what I've come to find out is generally later on in life when I begin to examine those experiences and I get real with what they actually brought me, sometimes they're the greatest lessons that I've ever had and the greatest gifts I've ever experienced. And there's a story that I'd like to share with you that kind of illustrates this. Having lived in Southern California for over 4 years in the late 80s and early 90s, it's easier for me to relate to this story. It's a story of an attorney, and he has a meeting down in near Orange County Airport, and it unfortunately goes late, and he has now next to go to his next appointment up near LAX with a brand new client. Now, it's a little touchy with this client because this new client has actually fired his old attorney because the guy was always late. So anyway, the attorney gets in his car and he's heading up. He believes he has enough time. And generally speaking, if traffic's good, it's probably about a 45 to minute drive to 1 hour drive. So he's heading up the 405. He's got Hootie and the Blowfish, blaring on the radio, and he's going the common speed with everyone in traffic, about 70, 75 miles per hour, even though it's a 55-mile-per-hour zone. And as he's singing along to Darius Rucker, all of a sudden he looks in the rearview mirror and he notices there's a California highway patrolman on a motorcycle with the lights flashing, asking him to pull over. So he gets pulled over. Officer, I was going the same speed as everyone else. And all the cop will say is, license and registration, sir. Goes back to his bike, come back several minutes later, and hands him a $250 reminder as to why he should be going the speed limit. Well, now the attorney's a little frustrated, right? He's really looking at his watch now, going, man, if traffic is perfect, I can still get to my appointment on time. So he slowly gets on to traffic, and he's heading up north on the 405, and all of a sudden, traffic comes to a complete stop. All 6 lanes going north. No one's moving at all. And it's this way for several minutes. And he's getting nervous. He's getting agitated. He's getting frustrated. So finally, he turns on the radio in order to see if he can get a traffic report, and that's when he hears it. About 10 miles ahead, there's been a horrific crash, like a 50-car pileup. And he turns off the radio, he slams his fist on the steering wheel, and he just lays his head in his hands and says, I've lost this client. This is a disaster. But then as he's sitting there, he realizes something. That horrific accident happened about 10 miles north of where he was going. And then he realizes if he hadn't been pulled over by the police officer at that time, he probably would have been right in the middle of that car crash. So then he has to ask himself, was the ticket good or was it bad? So what does that mean for us? Well, I think what it means for us is when we go through situations in our life, particularly those that we find challenging, disappointing, frustrating, is to, after we go through that initial process, is take some time to really see what was the learning from that experience and what was the essence of that experience. I mean, what did it give us? How did we learn? How do we grow? How do we expand? How did it shape us in terms of the person that we are today? And also, what is a way that you can use this for your learning, upliftment, and growth? I know for me personally, when I went through divorce, it was one of the most painful times in my life. And for many, many years, it was difficult for me to even deal with that. But then I realized during that time, I got incredibly close to my 2 sons. And I got closer to my mother and other friends and family members. So in essence, what ended up happening is I not only grew other relationships, but also helped me to go deeper into my own self-development, my own personal spirituality. And so in essence, that experience that I had, it was probably the most painful in my life, became one of my greatest gifts. So this week, as you're going forward, as you're moving through life, and as challenges will inevitably hit you, and you're in those times when you think, man, can it get any worse? And how could this happen to me? Just remind yourself, is the ticket good or is it bad? So thanks so much for watching. This has been Chris NATZKE with Black Belt Leadership Speaking and Coaching, and we'll see you next time on the Mind of a Champion Tip of the Week.